thank you for inviting me, and thank you to all of you for this opportunity. I would like to say it's my first presentation in this kind of topics. I'm national contact point for Societal Challenge 2 from the beginning of Horizon 2020, but it is the first time that I talk about the international cooperation for Societal Challenge 2. So this presentation is also a challenge for me, not only for you. And I would like just to introduce why I'm here, because I'm also a partner in BioHorizon, that is the network of all the Societal Challenge 2 national contact points. And I'm responsible inside the BioHorizon of the work package related to training and webinar. I'm also national contact point not only for Societal Challenge 2, but also for nanotechnologies, material production, and also for the European Research Council. So I know a little bit well about how Horizon 2020 works in the framework program. My presentation of today, I would like to focus on these 5 aspects. The flagship that are of interest for the Societal Challenge 2 for the bioeconomy in international cooperation. Then I would like to give you some figures about the international cooperation in Societal Challenge 2. I will then give you an overview about the topics and the project that has been funded in the last work program in 2018, flagged for the international cooperation. Then I would like to give you some, confidential information about the next opportunities that will be open in the next work program 2020. And then I would like to conclude with some information about the activities and the services that we developed inside the National Contact Point Network. So just to give you an overview about what has been developed inside the BioHorizon project for the NCP from third countries. Starting from the policy and flagship, for the people that are not informed about this, the second societal challenge, one of the most important strategy is the bioeconomy strategy. I don't want to go too much into the strategy, but just to give you an overview, the bioeconomy covers all the sector and systems that are rely on the biological resources. That means animal, plants, microorganisms, and all the biomasses, including organic waste. Of course, this kind of approach is a global approach. Bioeconomy cannot consider it only at European level, but at global level. That's why, for example, in the first version of the bioeconomy, the 2012 bioeconomy strategy that was renovated last October, there is a specific action plan targeted to international cooperation, where you can find some very clear information about the opportunities and the aims of the strategy towards China and Africa, but also towards some Atlantic countries like US, Canada, and also South Atlantic with the Belen statement. So already in the 2012, there was a clear statement of the importance of the international cooperation for the bioeconomy field. And one of the most important forum today that today is available in the bioeconomy strategy is the EBF, and then I will give you some word about this International Bioeconomy Forum. That is something very important about the cooperation between Europe and some third country in the bioeconomy field. It's a forum for the policy dialogue between European member states and some specific third country active in the field. Here you can see the world map with the different flagships for international cooperation. Not all these flagships are of interest for the bioeconomy field, but the countries with the star are the countries where you can find a specific interest for one of the aspects of Societal Challenge 2, or marine research, or agriculture, or food. So we have a specific flagship with Canada, with US, with South America. In this case, I'm talking about blue growth. So all the activities in marine and maritime research in ocean and sea. Then there is a specific interest with Africa, and you can find in Societal Challenge 2 a flagship with African countries. Then there is another flagship with China, and of course with the Mediterranean. I'm not going to discuss about the PRIMA initiative. I don't know if someone of you know this kind of initiative. It is 185 articles. That means a partnership between member states of European Union and some Mediterranean countries on water and agriculture. It is an initiative that has been launched last year. It is very important because try to put into cooperation the South, the Mediterranean countries. So it's another opportunity in international cooperation that is not of interest for the societal challenge 2 in Horizon 2020, but is part of the European Commission strategy in agriculture and food. Here you can find the 4 main flagships of interest for the bioeconomy. The All-Atlantic Ocean Research Alliance flagship, the European and African Partnership on Food and Nutrition Security and Sustainable Agriculture, the European and China Flagship Initiative, and then the Future of Sea and Ocean Flagship Initiatives. These are the main area of interest for the Societal Challenge 2. How works the Societal Challenge 2? The Societal Challenge is divided in 3 main calls: sustainable food security, rural renaissance, and blue growth. 2 of these flagships are of interest for the food security, China and Africa. And the other 2, Sea and Ocean and the All-Atlantic Ocean, as you can imagine, are of interest for the blue growth. The blue growth is a call, as I said before, related to the marine and maritime research. It is very important for the European Commission and also for the states that are on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. Just to give you very short information about this flagship, I don't want to be exhaustive, but just to give you an overview. One of these is the Atlantic Ocean Research Alliance, together with Canada and United States. The most important act of this alliance is the Galway Statement. The Galway Statement was one of the main results of the previous Commissioner Gogan and Quinn, and it is very important for the aim to have a sort of shared vision about the ocean that should be treated in a healthy, resilient, safe, productive way. So it's very important to find a common research and knowledge exchange between Europe and the Atlantic side. That's why the Commission and this country put a lot of effort in trying to reach this alliance on ocean. In the last period, this sort of Galway statement, we can find close to the Galway Statement another statement with the south part of the Atlantic that is called Belém Statement, with the south part zone Brazilian and the other country. That is of course of interest because the ocean it's a topic that should be treated in a global way. So all the actors should be involved in the activity. Another flagship also related to sea and ocean is this one. It is close to the G7 initiative. And there is also a link with Baltic Sea, North Sea, Mediterranean and Black Sea. So it's another initiative of interest that is going to deal with this very important topic. In the World Programme of Societal Challenge 2, the last World Programme, you can find specific coordination and support action that aim to try to fix better the cooperation into this kind of area. Here you can find some information about the European and Africa Partnership on Food and Nutrition. This flagship started more or less 3 years ago, in April 2016, with a roadmap on research and innovation for food and nutrition security and sustainable agriculture. It is a flagship between Europe and 25 African experts, and the aim of the partnership are to boost the impact of Africa and Europe joint research at local level, and also to increase the production of high-quality food with appropriate inputs, enhancing common growth, and promote rural development. So it's very important, this partnership, because as you can see in the next slide, this partnership produces a lot of topics that we can find in the work program, in the last edition of the work program for Societal Challenge 2. Just to give you a few numbers, here you can find statistics about the general participation of African countries in Horizon 2020. These numbers are not related only to Societal Challenge 2, but to all the Horizon 2020. As you can see, the most participated country is South Africa, then Kenya, Tunisia, Morocco, and Egypt, with a huge amount of participation from South Africa. If we are going to see the data with a specification for kind of program, we can find here in this light orange color the participation of Africa in Societal Challenge 2. In pink we have environment. In this color that is not orange but is a mix between pink and orange, we can find the food sector. As you can see, the participation and the EU contribution for this country is very similar for the food sector. I say that because if you see this number, this color, sorry, this one, this is the Marie-Zlorowska reaction, where the participation of Africa countries is high, but the amount of contribution that go to this country is like zero, because there is different kind of funding mechanism active in the Marie-Zlorowska reaction. I will give you more detail about African participation in the second part of the presentation for the Societal Challenge 2. Another very important flagship is the European and China Flagship Initiative. It is very strategic, and the first part of the initiative started more than 5 years ago between the European Commission and the Chinese Academy of Agricultural Science. The idea is to work together in a long-term partnership about not only about food, agriculture, and biotechnologies. We can find, for example, in the Horizon 2020 funding opportunities inside this initiative, not only in the Societal Challenge 2 work program, but also in the nanotechnologies, material and production work program, in the biotechnology call. So this kind of flagship is also of interest in the interaction between the different work programs inside Horizon 2020. Of course, the task force create a first list of potential areas for the promotion of common priorities for research and innovation between Europe and China, with the aim to open the dialogue between the two regions, to coordinating different experts from both sides in order to identify priorities and jointly submit European project proposal and cooperation, and also to providing the background documents for the high-level coordinating body, like the Joint Steering Committee on Science and Technologies. For example, if I don't wrong, a couple of 10 days ago, there was an important meeting at policy level between Europe and China. And this is going to take more action also into this flagship. So it's very important to understand how this kind of flagship are very, very important also at policy level. Looking at the participation of China in Horizon 2020 at general level, we can see that China, as we see from the first presentation of this morning, it's very active. It's the third country that is going to participate in Horizon 2020. And is very active in all the different pillars of Horizon 2020, especially in excellence science, in the Marie-Zlorowska reaction, but also in the societal challenge, in climate, so in environment, Societal Challenge 5, and also in food security. So it's very interesting partner countries for Europe. The most active organizations in China are these two, the Tsinghua University and the Zhejiang University, that are very active at level of participation, not at level of EU contribution, because as you understand from this morning, China is not going to get funding from European Union. Just to conclude this part about the policy and the flagship, I would like to give you very few information about this bioeconomy forum. It's something that is not clear for me as national contact point, because the Commission in the last months the process is like it's freezing in this moment, and we as a national contact point we ask more information. But what I can say you is that the International Bioeconomy Forum is something that is very important for the European Commission, because the idea is to keep the bioeconomy field at international level. Bioeconomy acts globally, so it's very important that that there is a sort of agreement, a cooperation at global level, in order to facilitate the exchange of knowledge across political and scientific community, and also to ensure an efficient use of available resources. The International Bioeconomy Forum aims at identify research and innovation priority, to align the different research funding programs, and to focus about the global effort on specific themes, and also to identify emerging needs, issues, and future research trends. Another aim of the EBF is to facilitate the knowledge exchange on critical areas and develop of a policy dialogue, and also to raise the international awareness of the central role of bioeconomy in reaching globally policy targets. For this reason, the European Commission starting to talk together with other international organizations and agencies and ministries in Argentina, Australia, Canada, China, India, New Zealand, South Africa, and United States, with different counterpart in the different country, and also involving different international organizations that are active in the field. So not only European Commission, but specific institutions coming from the different third countries, and also international organizations. In which field? Microbiome, that is one of the task forces that are leading by European Union. Then another thematic activity that is still under preparation is about ICT in precision food production. Another one is about plant health, and another one is about forestry. Regarding the horizontal aspect, some decisions should be are still under discussion inside the EBF. But the idea is to prepare activity jointly between the European Commission and the different third countries. What's happened till now? Last year, in the World Programme 2018, the European Commission funded a first coordination and support action between about the microbiome, in order to set a sort of support action to start to develop the priority agreed by the different countries that are of interest of the team. So we are starting to work, but I'm not sure about the state of play of the EBF in this moment. Now I would like to change the topic and show you some interesting data about the international cooperation in Societal Challenge 2. Here is a map. The data are taken by, are elaborated by me from data available on the dashboard of the portal. Here is the map, and you can find the different countries that are of interest in cooperation in Societal Challenge 2 for third countries. As you can see, Africa, it's one of the most active part of the world for the Societal Challenge 2. But let's see some number. Till now, we have 91 grants that are signed by European and third country partners, with 327 participation from third country institution. It means also more than one organization active in more than one project. The contribution given assigned to third country is more than 24 million euro, almost 24 million euro. 52 third countries are active in societal challenge 2. So there is a very big, it's a societal challenge of strong interest for international cooperation. 253 institutions are participating, almost half of them without European funding. And they are coming from Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, Hong Kong, Jordan, Korea, New Zealand, Peru, it's not from industrialized, and Russia, Taiwan, and US. And into the work program from 2014 to 2019, you can find 72 topics with third country participations. This is show you a sort of overview about the importance of international cooperation in the bioeconomy field. The country participation. China. Chinese partners are the more active in societal challenge 2. Then there is South Africa, Canada, Kenya, United States, Argentina, Brazil, Egypt, and so on. But the Chinese are 4 times the South African. So it's huge, the importance of the bioeconomy field for Chinese partners. And this is something that we can find also in the past framework program. It is not something that came up in Horizon 2020, but it's something that we can find also in the past. But if we are looking for the contribution, then the country change, because China is not, of course, at the first position, because it's not going to be funded in Horizon 2020, but South Africa and Kenya are the most important country receiving funding from the European Commission. Here you can find the list of topics that see a huge amount of contribution to third countries. Now I will show you another graph, but in the second part of Horizon 2020, there is a strong interest for international cooperation. We had several topics flagged and not flagged for international cooperation, but with specific activities that could require the contribution coming from third countries. One of the most important is about the partnership on food and nutrition between Europe and Africa, but also about perennial crops in the tropics and subtropics. These 2 topics are totally different, because in the first one is a flagship, so it's mandatory the participation of African countries. In the second one, it's a required participation of tropic and subtropic regions, country regions. So it's totally different at level of eligibility condition, what means international cooperation. Let me see other data. This is about the type of organization. You know that now in Horizon 2020, if we see this kind of data about type of organization in European member states, we found that the private sector is strongly present. But if we see this data in the participation of third country, we see that the most active type of organization are the research organization, universities, public sector. The private sector is not so much representative, neither at contribution level, neither at number of participants. Here you can see the project signed with third countries in the different year of Horizon 2020. There is, there is a balance in the distribution of projects with third countries. So there is the European Commission maintains a sort of balance in funding this kind of action. And here you can find the most active institution in societal challenge 2 for number of participation. The China Agricultural University from China, the Agricultural Research Council from South Africa, then Ghana, Nigeria, again South Africa, Argentina, South Africa again, Australia, and Canada. Here we can find the top 10. In this slide, but I'm not going to detail this one, you can find the state of play of European and Africa cooperation. So you can see the topic flagged for Africa cooperation in the different year of Horizon 2020. And here you can see the number of participation from Africa and the contribution given to African participants. We say more or less around 11 million euro given to African participants. Similar table is made for European and China cooperation. In this case, we don't have again the final data for the last 2 years call for 2019 because it's still under evaluation. For 2018 because we are still waiting for the Chinese evaluation. In this case, the cost, not the contribution, but the cost for the Chinese participant is around 17 million euro. But the participants are a huge number, around 100 of Chinese participants in Societal Challenge 2. Now I would like to give you a general overview about what the European Commission funded as flagged topic in international cooperation. As I said before, the Societal Challenge 2 is divided in 3 main calls: sustainable food security, blue growth, and rural renaissance. The first 2 are containing the most interesting topics for international cooperation, especially the sustainable food security, where you can find a specific action that is called targeted international cooperation, where you can find inside the flagship with China and with Africa. Just to give you a general overview about the topic that has been funded in 2018, so in the first part of the last work program. This one is about the International Bioeconomy Forum. We discussed it before. And here we can see that has been funded one topic, one project, microbiome support, coordinated by Austria for 4 years, and the contribution is around 3.5 million euro. There are several organizations into the partnership coming from Canada, Australia, Argentina, South Africa, India, China, Brazil, United States, and New Zealand. So inside the project, we are going to represent all the countries that are inside the EBF forum. Here we can see another interesting topic, but this is about Africa. It's another coordination and support action. We are not talking about research and innovation action. It is not a project for research. It's just for fixing the strategy and the implementation of the flagship between Europe and Africa, and has been funded one project for 5 million euro that is coordinated by France and that contain more than 15 organizations coming from Africa. Here you can find different organizations and with a strong representation of South Africa, Ghana, and Kenya. In the topic, there was a specific condition. Shilpi before described very well how works this mechanism in Societal Challenge 5. It is something similar also for Societal Challenge 2, where you can find specific conditions to the call that are additional eligibility conditions, and in this case, the eligibility conditions state that the proposal should include at least 8 participants from Africa. And you have to reach this number. Another interesting action is in this one. It's about food system in Africa. It is very, we don't have the result in this moment because it's still under evaluation. In this case, the proposal foreseen a specific condition where you should include at least 4 participants from a specific region of Africa and a minimum of 5 participants from Africa. And I would like also to note that for the 2019 topics, I put the number of submitted proposals, just to show you how much this kind of topic is of interest for European and African organizations. And in this case, there are 19 proposals submitted. So there is a strong competitiveness inside the topic. And just to show you something into the text of this, into the scope, where it states that the proposal needs to ensure the commitment and the participation of a variety of partners established in the European and Africa. And the result states that the project should establish a relevant link with other projects involved in the European Africa Research and Innovation Partnership. So there are specific conditions in order to clusterize the project, already funded in the past or the project that will be funded in the same topic. For example, in this case, the Commission foresees that 3 projects will be funded in the same area. So the idea is to have inside the different activities a task or an activities ad hoc that specify the cooperation, the clusterization of activities in order to avoid overlapping between the different projects. About competitiveness, have a look at this number. In this topic about sustainable intensification in Africa, we had 46 proposals that submitted in the topic. So there is a very strong interest in the topic. In this case, for example, there is a specific condition that foreseen at least 5 participants from specific region of Africa and a minimum of 8 participants from Africa. I would like to put your attention in, be very careful in reading the specific condition, because sometimes the conditions are not only related to the number of participants coming from a specific third countries, but also to, for example, the location of the laboratory, in this case for soil sample that should be located in African continent. So it's very important to be careful to read in very detailed the topic. In the next slide you will find other opportunities that has been funded or are still under evaluation or that are going to be published in the future. I would like just to put your attention in this topic because this is not a flagship initiative. It is another topic of interest for international cooperation where it is not specific stated in the text which kind of country involved coming from not European country, but that is very important for international cooperation. For example, in this case, last year was funded 2 projects around 4 million euro each, where you can find a different third country in cooperation with the European institution, coming from South America or coming from Africa or other side of the world. So it's very important to be careful in reading the call text. Another point is about blue-growth international cooperation. It is very important because in this case you will not find a specific reference, at least in this work program, to some peculiar third country. But it's very important to reply in very clear way to the different policies that are behind this topic about the future of sea and ocean or about the Atlantic Ocean Research Alliance flagship. Consider that under this topic there are different opportunities of funding. So under one only at the Commission is going to fund a different opportunity also in cooperation with other third countries. About the last opportunity, I will be very fast. This kind of information is still confidential because it's still under discussion between Member States and Commission, but it's very important that the NCP are aware about this kind of information. And also it's very important to read carefully the specific condition, especially for the Africa flagship. Here, you can find the collection of FAQ coming from NCP and the European Commission about, for example, what means the different minimum condition, because sometimes it is not easy to clearly understand what means the different numbers. So it's very important also to learn from the past and from the specific answer given by the Commission. So you can find, for example, some example in this slide. Unfortunately, I have not so much time, so I'm going very fast on that. But it's useful for you if you are interested as NCP in the field to have a look to this FAQ about the cooperation at different level. Also, for example, about the involvement of the consultant. In this case, it's an international body for agricultural research. And in this case, the Commission is going to clarify how count this kind of international organization. They can be counted as African country, or they can be represented as national organization, the continent itself. So it's very important to understand better this kind of specification. Here you can find also other interesting consideration about the mechanism, in this case, of evaluation between Europe and China, about the most evaluation and communication. This point already came in the presentation before made by Shilpi, but you can find additional information in case you need, and you are you are assisting clients in the field. It's very important, and also I copy and paste some slide coming from the RIA, from the European Commission, about some lessons learned about the implementation of call with third countries. So I think that it's very important also to have a look about some suggestions that the European Commission itself is going to give to the coordinator in this joint project. Of course, it's very important a good communication with the regular contact using different communication channels. It's very important to support from the European coordinator the third countries in the different aspects of project management that also shared by Marie. It's also very important to bridging the research policy gap. So policy session, review meeting, joint conference, success stories, try to put into the project aspects that are not only research and innovation, but also try to do the science diplomacy aspect that will be very important in the future. And then please put very clear the added value of both sides from mutual cooperation. And in this case, for China, it's very important that the Chinese applicant is going to be more informed about this kind of call. The coordination between the funding decision by Europe and most is needed. There is a lack of knowledge by the European partners of the amount of Chinese funding dedicated to the joint project. It is something that is a problem for the European partner, but this aspect is something that the Commission knows very well. So they are going to try to solve in this point. And another interesting thing that I found in this presentation coming from the RIA is how the Commission is going to interact with the policy actor. So it's very important also to understand how the Commission is going to participate in the different task forces, in the different occasions of policy dialogue at European or African, European or China level. Just to close the presentation, I would like just to say a couple of words about BioHorizon, that is the network of the NCP for Societal Challenge 2, and in particular how the network is going to involve third country in the activities. It is part of the international cooperation in Societal Challenge 2. And the BioHorizon network involved several partners that are in violet in the map. We had more than 34 active participation in training, webinar organized by the project, with the aim to strengthen the network and provide a sort of sustainable, coherent collaboration at transnational level. And for the third countries NCP, the network organized e-mentoring activities targeted for the third country NCP in order to give them direct support to welcome them into the BioHorizon project, but also we organize some missions specific to third countries. So it is an approach where the NCP with more experience try to support third countries or now associated countries like Tunisia and Ukraine in define priority and in try to organize with them events, training and info day. And after them, inside the BioHorizon network, we are going to open different services to third countries as NCP. Some of these activities can also be refunded, reimbursed. There is a reimbursement mechanism for ICPC, NCP, and for the other, they can participate and take part in the different activities. So I think that my time is over. And in case you need additional information, you can also write to me at Borgna. This is the coordinator of BioHorizon. And for other specific questions related to the topic and to the call, I'm available as national contact point for what you need. Thank you for your attention and sorry for the final rush of this presentation. Thank you.